Yes, so it is hard. It is a struggle to be a gay man in America, but I have hope. I have hope that because of the work that you've done here, the work that Audacity's done, the work that everyone across the country is doing right now, we are priming the field for change. So yes, I am scared as to where things are going for gay rights in America, but I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope too, because better days are ahead. That's what is going to make us wake up tomorrow, right? Um, and that's what we have to believe.
Yeah, I'm the voice of Audacity.
I am the voice of Audacity.
I am the voice of Audacity.
Local voices, real impact, right now. Audacity, creative action together.
Hi, and welcome to Voices of Audacity. I'm Lynn Donovan. I've been an Audacity member since the beginnings around James Cook's kitchen table. And today I have two guests, Lance and Wade Rodman. I think they have a bit of a story, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Yeah. Hi, Lynn. Hi, AudacityCAT. I'm Lance.
I'm Wade.
And we're so grateful to be having this conversation with you, Lynn. As you mentioned, we are relatively new Mainers, and you were one of the first people that we met when we came to Audacity, the weekly demonstration at Chapman. So glad to be having this talk with you today.
Terrific. What were you doing before you came here?
Yeah, so I spent a gajillion years in school.
Yes, Dr. Rodman.
I was deeply involved in the early Chips and Science Act work in upstate New York, helping to bring American manufacturing jobs back that had previously gone overseas. Wade is, I think, and I might be a little biased, but my favorite artist. And after I graduated with my doctorate, I got a remote job and decided that we wanted to go travel. I was done with school finally after, I think, 12 years. And we hit the road and made it here and never left.
Every time that I run into you two now at meetings or in passing, you've got some other really interesting project, group meeting, task, vision, going on. I would love to hear more about that.
So, yeah, we're calling you from, it's not ready to announce yet, but we're calling you from our studio here in Rockland. And so everything that we do kind of merges the high-tech world and the manufacturing world and also the creative world, because I dabble in graphic design a little. I don't call myself a graphic designer, but I've done graphic design for all of my published works. And so my graphic design background with Wade's graphic art background has finally found a home here in Rockland. So we're excited to just really go slow. We go very slow and make connections and meet awesome people like you and really get connected to a community before, we just try to get connected to the community. And that's what we're doing here at this studio. It'll be a community space, and we're going to be announcing some stuff later this summer. But yeah, we work on a lot and high energy for sure, but that's just who we are. We're creatives, but we're also entrepreneurs and activists and everything in between.
A little bit of busybodies.
Yeah, busybodies for sure.
I love it. I'm thinking of, because I've met you mostly in Audacity contexts, either in the general meetings or smaller subgroup meetings.
Mm-hmm.
There was a memorable one at your other studio where you provided just the best munchies for all of us.
He
that was
got the host gene for sure.
It was fun. I think there were, and that, we co-lead, I guess, the Resistance Lab group together, which you're not too familiar if you're watching this with the resistance lab model, about this time last year, things were looking very bleak, right? We were in the early days of the administration. They were no holds barred. And so Pramila Jayapal got together with a bunch of scholars that you may know, and with books that a lot of people in Audacity have mentioned that they've read, like On Tyranny and On Freedom by Timothy Snyder, about how these resistance movements like ours can thrive and make real change happen. Once you organize and activate about 3.5% of a population, change is more likely than not. But what it takes, and this is why I latched on to the resistance lab model that is about kitchen table issues, it's about gathering in homes around food, but on purpose, right? For democracy, and for the purpose of making our communities better, but also as a form of resistance in itself. Freedom and democracy depends on togetherness, and we've lost that these days. And so as much as we can, we love to get involved in protests and demonstrations and peacefully gathering with people in public. But at the same time, we want to get to know people on a deeper level, because that's where we can say, wow, what are you struggling with here? This is what I'm struggling with. Community is born.
Creating those community bonds, because it's harder to sell out your neighbor when you know them. You know their name, you know what they do, what they like, what they don't like.
It kind of parallels the whole what happened about how Audacity came to be and grew too. After the last election, I'm trying to breathe in November, and thought, I can't do this alone. I will not survive this alone. And so reached out to James and said, can we get together? Can we get some people together? And he laughed and he said, I was just going to call you. He said, come Thursday to my house. And I think there were 9 of us, and the next week there were 15 of us. And look where we are. What did we have? Just shy of 2,300 people for No Kings?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was already an improvement on the previous one, which at that time was one of the largest in the area. So it's growing. It's from 9 to 15, and now it's 2,000 plus and growing in influence. Way to go. Way to go.
Way to go.
Yeah. A lot of conversations come up and say, well, what are we about? And how do we take this forward? And what's next? How do we continue to contribute to change?
This is what I studied for 12 years. I sometimes wonder why I spent so long in school. And then I realized I just learned how part of the ebb and flow of resistance work is that public versus private aspect. And I think as gay men, we bring a lot of the story of queer liberation with us, in that it was almost always underground in the early days of the queer liberation movement. We all talk about the Stonewall riot that really set the trajectory for the rest of queer history. But it didn't start with Stonewall, right? It started with the early versions of drag houses and underground bars and meeting in people's homes.
Underground community.
Yeah. And so, like, my point being is that there are those above ground aspects that take behind the scenes work. For every very visible demonstration, I guarantee you, there are people in the background that are making that happen, like the great people that help with the setup and takedown at Audacity, right? Every single Saturday, someone has to get there early to set it up. Someone has to stay late to take it down, right?
And they clean up the park. Now, they don't just take down what we bring, but
we
they
leave it better than we found it.
They clean up the park.
And to your point about the evolution, it usually starts with about 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people. And then eventually if you do that enough and you're doing something that's worth it and that's beautiful and that's compelling, people can't help to want to be a part of it. And it continues on, and it's not reactionary, but it's adaptive to the times and says, okay, we got here, but what got us here won't get us there. We
Yeah.
can't go back to normal. We
Well,
can't
no, we can't.
we
can't recreate. We've got to build new.
build new. Yeah.
Not rebuild, but build new. I remember, and I talk about it entirely too much, but way back, I grew up in a family of not hugely political or religious at all, but very biased, very right wing, very biased, very
Mm.
racist, sizes,
We know what that
every.
looks like.
Yeah. And so I was the oldest. I didn't want them to know anything about me. The whole time we're talking, I'm thinking, there's no way that your approach and presence and story with this can't be influenced by the fact that you are a gay male couple and in a still predominantly hostile country. And all the nutso stuff about trans people and students and
Yeah, 'cause it's rearing
Yeah.
its ugly head again here with
Yep.
this referendum that may or may not be on the ballot. Who knows? But we have been very blessed to have found such a group and such a fantastic place. Even outside of Audacity, everybody that we meet
Mhm.
here is generally kind, is generally very welcoming. We say we moved to Maine because of our trip to Acadia, but there were a number of things that about Maine that drew us here, and we had the opportunity to see the Democratic governor candidates this
Mhm.
past weekend, and just seeing the quality of elected representation here, challenging as it might be. As gay men, we're very we're at home here because we know that we have a state and a state government, and a lot of good friends around that have our
Mhm.
backs. And we haven't always had that. And a lot of people, to your point, do not live in places that are even a tenth as welcoming as Rockland has been. But that's
Yeah, there are places where safety is very much a
yeah,
daily issue.
yeah. Where literally walking down the street, and the trans issue is a daily issue for people. And so to see that this transphobicness that has been generated on
Injected.
purpose, right? Because there was a time, even in our lifetime, where we thought as gay men that we had made it. We could think of a Obergefell, right? Which
Yeah.
allowed us to get married. Well, that also gives us a perspective that our elder gay men in our lives have a vantage point that's so different than us, because now
Mhm.
half of my life, almost has been, or, a good amount of my life, I have been living in a country, and we've lived in a country that that allow me the same rights as anyone else, when people that are, of previous generations, they spent their entire lives almost,
Yeah.
some of them, in that situation. And so we talk about the future of Audacity, which is tied to the future of our country. And this is the 250th anniversary. It is now a time for us to decide what kind of country and community do we want to build and live in. And is it one that's going to be inclusive and welcoming? Or is it going to be one that has reverted back to the mean, which in America is a racist, or at least, I don't want to say that America was built on racism, but that racism is certainly tied to our history, just like other kinds of oppression against women, against indigenous peoples, against all kinds of immigrants. Heck, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they were talking about Irish immigrants and Italian immigrants. So it's just the next. Is this a period of time that is just like before? Or can we now say, no, finally and fully, we are going to build that promised land? And that's what I am excited about. Yes, so it is hard. It is a struggle to be a gay man in America, but I have hope. I have hope that because of the work that you've done here, the work that Audacity's done, the work that everyone across the country is doing right now, we are priming the field for change. So yes, I am scared as to where things are going for gay rights in America, but I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope too, because better days are ahead. That's what is going to make us wake up tomorrow, right? And that's what we have to believe.
Every interaction that we can have, no matter how tiny, whether it's just catching somebody's eye, that communication of compassion and kindness and connection that is about the better part of human nature. I mean, I have to debate about all the rest of it. Just have to further what's good.
Mhm.
And the more that we do that, the stronger that web becomes. I think it's what holds us together.
And that's where art comes in, and that's what
Oh, yeah. And music.
kept us in Rockland, was that it feels alive because there's art everywhere, and I
Yeah.
think that might be a good thing for you to maybe talk about, is like art is a way that you
Yeah.
help channel that grief, but also, use it to, to communicate the good as well, that only art can do. But
Yeah. Can you speak to that, Wade?
Yeah. So I feel like when people say eyes are the window to the soul, I believe an artist's painting is a snapshot of what the soul was feeling in that moment of creation. And it's the most expressive way to express things that you maybe want to be seen but not tell. It's easier to show than tell oftentimes, especially for someone like me. I stumble over my words, which is why I tend to be an introvert and why I tend to sit here and let Lance do most.
no, I don't talk.
Yeah, we have kind of dominated this.
That's okay. I'm fine. I like to watch. I might make a painting later for this. But it's a more genuine point of view of a statement. If you look at a picture, you're getting a picture's worth 1,000 words. It would take you X amount of time to say 1,000 words, whereas it just takes a glance to get what the artist was saying. It's quick, it's effective, and it sticks with you. So I do believe that art is very important in our steps forward to convey our wants, our needs, our desires, and our demands.
I keep thinking of the record of the signage that Greg Marley has been photographing week after week after week. There are 30 or 40 of the signs that that we have pictures of or access to pictures of, and thinking we've got to do something with that.
It's also kind of a living history if you look at it, because I would say about half, I don't know about you, but I don't know, like half of the signs are about something that's happened very recently, and then about half, I would say, are kind of evergreen.
Umbrella.
It's just, umbrella. So those records, or sorry, those pictures are records of what has happened. I don't know if you've ever tried to Google a story that happened, something bonkers that he had said or did a year ago. It's really difficult. It's, by design algorithmically, but there's so much that comes out. It's difficult to even find something that happened two weeks ago, 2 months ago, let alone years ago. So those signs that he takes pictures of are living memories.
And art, I mean, historically has been up internationally everywhere.
Right.
part of every resistance
Right.
movement, woefully absent from the first administration and any of the resistance work around that. It just didn't. I mean, there were some attempts, nothing clicked, nothing took hold. And boy, Minnesota showed us what we needed to be doing.
Correct. Yeah. It helps bring levity to the moment, you know, when you're sitting there watching police officers try to brutalize a man dressed as a frog, it's kind of hard to see the frog as the person, you know, being the aggressor.
For us, and we learned from this, very online, right? Keyboard warriors. But that wasn't the way to make change stick, as we saw, right? It needed to be in the streets. It needed to be in the public square like it always had been, but that needed to return there because that's where the civil rights movement was born. That's where the women's rights movement was born, was not on computers. It was in the streets and in homes, and then from homes into hearts, right? And so I love that it's offline. It's very on the ground.
We have such power with numbers, and that's our strength, I think. And truly, when we pull together, we do things like this together, it just it expands the weightedness of how we hold ourselves and how we speak out. Thank you both so much, and I'm delighted to get a peek at the new place.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Expect more to come here.
Yeah, that's terrific.
If you're interested in learning more about Audacity, you can find us at www.AudacityCAT.com. We can also be found at Blue Sky, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.
The Voices of Audacity podcast joins with other AudacityCAT efforts to share information, promote political action, and enable discussion among local citizens. Although we hold different views on specific issues, we agree on 7 core values. We oppose authoritarianism, bigotry, and corruption. We support inclusive democracy, equity, and freedom. And we are committed to nonviolence in all actions. Any individual opinions expressed in these conversations reflect the individuals involved and do not necessarily reflect the stance of Audacity as a group.